I'm back with another monkey branching video, which is one of your favorite topics. As the title says, monkey branching and master manipulators, well, I named it like that for a reason. You see, in the email I'm about to share with all of you, this particular guy got involved with a woman who had some serious mental health issues. Despite that, she betrayed him, lined up a replacement, but very meticulously lied to him, manipulated him, used him, took advantage of him, and quite frankly, really hurt this guy. You know, he really need to take his time to recover, and he still is. Guys, this is the danger of overlooking red flags and diving headfirst into a relationship with a woman that is godless, immoral, mentally unstable, and not good for you. And as I say all the time, you are responsible for the quality of woman that you choose. Just before I get into his email, I want to share one thing with all of you. For anybody who is interested in learning more about my work, you can get a copy of my book. This is the hardcover version. There is also a paperback, which is smaller, and then also the digital download. The link is in the description. And for anybody who would like to share this story with me, ask me any questions, even for the female subscribers, 11% of my subscribers are women. Ladies, feel free to send me any questions, any video topics, or emails like this to help to further educate men and women about relationships so that they can avoid the mistakes you've made and choose healthier partners based on what's happened to you. So guys, do not shy away from sharing your situation with me. The email is down below in the description. So with that said, let's start with Jimmy's story. And yes, I'm going to call him Jimmy, as I always do. He also made it very clear to me, keep my name private. So I will. Let's start. Let me start this letter by saying that I've always been a bit of a hopeless romantic. I believe in soulmates and the one, and probably have watched more rom-com movies than any self-respecting guy should. I guess this made me the perfect prey for this particular type of girl, because I naively missed or ignored all of the red flags she set off. Look, when a man is centered in his masculinity, he follows after righteousness, and a woman is feminine and also follows after the truth, what is righteous, they can both come together and have a wonderful relationship, as long as there's chemistry, compatibility, of course. And then you can both be the right match for each other. But when you get hyper obsessed with Disney movies, which, especially nowadays, they're putting feminism and all of these toxic belief systems, which are just dividing men and women, you're basically under a spell. And it's going to damage your sense of reality with what is fiction. Remember, there's good ones and there's bad ones. And when you lead in with your lust, you have a knowledge gap, or you're at a bad place in your life. Maybe you're weak, you're in a moment where you're struggling financially, or you have other problems going on in your life. And in comes the first woman that's showing you interest, and you're not used to that as a man, then you may very well be misled by her. So you want to be patient and always gauge your character. So as he said, he naively missed all of the red flags that she set off. He says, now I don't mean to say that this girl targeted me in some nefarious or malicious way, because I think deep down that she's a good person who just happens to suffer from a serious mental disorder that causes her to unconsciously engage in maladaptive and selfish behavior. More on this later. Yeah, more on this indeed. A lot of you are going to be shocked. Our relationship started in February of 2020, 3 days after Valentine's Day and just a month before the pandemic shut the world down. We had both just come out of breakups, me in January and she in December. And we met online on a dating app. Our conversation just flowed so easily and we seemed to have so much in common that we could quickly move from the dating app to Instagram, WhatsApp, and then Facebook in the span of a day. We ended up talking for 9 hours during the first meeting, since we were both on break for the week. A lot of talking. Now, this can be a good sign that you both have mutual attraction, you have chemistry, you're connecting. That's great. But you also want to have a healthy balance. Too much too soon, it's not a good way to go. Remember, attraction grows and builds in space. It's good for you and it's good for her. When things are moving this quickly, this soon, that is two people that are very lustful and that they are in limerence. So he said we ended up talking for 9 hours on the first day. We continue to talk throughout the week, anywhere between 7 to 10 hours a day. I can understand you're on break, but as a man, you should have a life. Maybe you take half an hour a day to read a book, or you read a bit of your Bible, perhaps. Maybe you go 1 hour to the gym to work out. You have other leisure activities, hobbies or interests that help you grow and develop as a man, or things that you just enjoy to relax. You need to have a well-rounded life with variety in it. And it's also good for the woman you are courting to see that, right? Because if she comes to find that, this guy's got nothing going for him, in other words, you're just a loser, you're a bum, she's the only thing, that's cute in the beginning. But then if that's all you have, that's how you become needy. That's how you become insecure and jealous and fearful and weak. And you stop being that confident, strong leader, and you start to become a weak, scared follower. You become soft. And that woman is going to be turned off because she's going to think, he can't protect me, he can't lead me. And then sexual polarity just evaporates. So that's very unhealthy. So for you guys watching at home, don't make that mistake. There's nothing wrong. You can talk for an hour, a couple of hours. You want to, some days you can do a little bit more, but that much too soon, that's a problem. So we continue to talk between 7 to 10 hours a day because we just never run out of things to talk about. And she couldn't get enough of me. Talking to her felt so addictive, like she was a drug I couldn't quit. I just felt so wanted and desired like no woman had ever made me feel before. That right there sounds like limerence. Remember, your emotions are just a reference point. It's a signal. You still want to lead with your principles. It's great that she's making you feel that way, but it's going to be mainly coming from a place of lust, excitement, the novelty of getting to know someone new, not necessarily love, because you don't love someone until you spend a serious amount of time with them. You've seen them through ups and downs, what they're like on a good day, on a bad day, when they're happy, when they're angry, when they're sad, right? When they misinterpret something you've said, miscommunication, misunderstandings. That's when you know that they love you or not. And you get to see all of them. You both need to see that. And that, Jimmy, takes time. You don't do that in a couple of weeks. Even if you fill in a couple of months worth of talking in a few weeks, it still needs time to blossom and grow. So everything he's saying is coming from a place of, limerence, just a strong emotional charge of lust, sexual desire, honeymoon phase. And there's nothing wrong with that. Healthy relationships transition from limerence into love. It's wonderful. You still want to be self-aware of it, because you can get lost. So I felt so wanted and desired like no woman had ever made me feel before. Little did I know these were all standard patterns of behavior for people with her disorder. Well, you have limerence. You're in limerence. That's what I'm saying. She's in it too. Even if she's mentally unstable, which the subscribers are going to see now as I go through the email, it doesn't matter. Whether you're stable or not, if you have a strong attraction, you can fall a little bit into limerence. But when you're aware of it, you can kind of take your foot off the gas and ease back into reality. There were a few weird things about her that seemed obvious even then, but that I chose to ignore. Partly because I like quirky girls, and partly because I try not to be judgmental of people with mental health issues. Well, that's a red flag. Anybody who's read my book, it's one of the first red flags I have there for a reason. Even for the ladies watching, you want to avoid men like that. And I'm not talking about someone who's sad or they're a little bit depressed because they can pull themselves out of that. I'm talking BPD, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, even other personality disorders, which there's a lot of science coming out now saying that it's just in the brain, like narcissistic personality disorder. A lot of things like that that people really can't change, that make them a danger to you, to themselves. People like that don't make stable romantic partners because they can't give or receive love in a healthy manner. It's just not going to work. You can love them from afar, but you're not going to have romantic love with them. I'm sorry, but that's just reality. Do with that information as you will. Because what he's saying here is, oh, I like quirky girls, but I'm not going to be judgmental of people who have mental health issues. You're not judging them from a place of pride or ego. You're judging it objectively from a place of righteousness. It's morally justifiable for you to say, you know what, I think she's beautiful, but if she's got some serious issues, this really ain't going to work. If it's related to an addiction, to trauma, that can be overcome through therapy, going to recovery, healing, great. But if it's something like a chemical imbalance, there's no medication for that, it's not worth it. It's unsafe. I have videos on this as well, guys getting involved with women that have mental health disorders. Crazy. She was very intense with her feelings for someone that I'd only been speaking to for a couple of weeks. She would send me dozens of texts throughout the day with scripted, canned well wishes and how do you do's that bordered on creepy and obsessive. So right off the bat, even himself, his spidey senses are tingling. He's thinking to himself, this is creepy and obsessive. If you were getting to know a woman that was virtuous, that was righteous and feminine, you wouldn't have a single moment where you'd feel creeped out by her behavior. Imagine if a woman said that. Oh, I felt creeped out by him. He seemed a little bit obsessive. You know what she's going to do then? She's going to turn away and run in the opposite direction. Why didn't you do that? Why did you stay? It's not a challenge. It's a warning sign. It's a red flag. She told me she loved me midway through our second week of talking. He says, warning, love isn't just some overwhelming passion that consumes you in the second you meet someone. That's lust infatuation. Love is something that builds up with intimacy and trust shared over time. Pretty much what I said a few minutes before. But again, he knows now, so it's good. She was over the top with her flattery and compliments. Love bombing. Kind of pulling you in, stroking your ego, making you feel like you're the man. She said, I was the most amazing man she has ever met, and that she never felt this way before. Yeah, because she's probably never sat there and spent 7 to 10 hours a day talking to some guy. Yeah, of course she's not going to feel that way. For her, it's also going to be new as well. It's going to, give her a hit of passion, dopamine, right? And of course, everything she's saying to you is coming from an emotional state. What she's feeling right now. She could wake up in 6 months and go, ooh, me and this guy are not compatible. All of a sudden, you're not that amazing man anymore. And that's okay. That's why you date and get to know someone. But when you ask quality questions and you have the end goal of you want family, you want marriage, you want to spend your life with someone, you're not going to sit there and waste your time and just see where it goes. You know exactly what you want. So you're going to be gauging her character, her compatibility, making sure you're right for each other. And you're going to walk if you're not happy or if nothing can be built for a lifelong relationship. And if you are right for each other, then you're going to stay and invest more. And that's really the way you want to see things. If not, you're just going to waste years of your life with the wrong woman and put yourself in dangerous situations, just how this man did, which you're going to see now. So she's saying all these things. You're the most amazing man I've met. I've never felt this way before. She said that I was the first person she had ever been the first to say I love you to. How I How I made her happier than she has ever been in her life. Wow, so her whole life she's been so miserable. Here comes you, and in 2 weeks, all of a sudden she's the happiest girl in the world. Now, if she said this to you within 7 months of courtship, a year and a half of dating, then it's going to be more grounded in an understanding of who you are as a man. So it's actually coming from facts, not just feelings, because she's gotten to know you. But in 2 weeks, man, that should be alarm bells should be going off in your head. Something's not right with this girl. Remember, women need time to gauge a man. Is he safe to be around? Is he going to be a good father? Is he going to be a good husband? What if he gets me pregnant? Some guys get a girl pregnant and they just vanish. They flee to Argentina or wherever else they want to go to. Woman gets pregnant, she's going to be stuck with that kid. So she has to take on that responsibility for really testing the guy to make sure he's an honest man, he's a good man. Of course, that only applies if she herself is a good woman and she thinks of these things. If she's promiscuous or emotionally damaged or is immoral, she's not going to care. And then she'll be stuck with a kid. In some cases, of course, if she's just, not responsible. But see, guys, that's what I want you to see here, because that's not normal behavior. If this woman was virtuous and had any quality, she'd be like, wait a minute, 2 weeks is too soon. Month and a half, 2 months. Then she'd go deeper with him. But in 2 weeks, that's not enough time for her to get to know him on a deep emotional level. He said, granted, we had spoken for the equivalent of about a month and a half in those first 2 weeks and shared a lot about our lives, but she hardly knew me well enough to say such things. Exactly. Especially since we had yet to even physically meet. She lived in the UK and I lived in the USA. Long distance. Always tricky. Despite the challenging logistics of long distance relationship, I was determined to make it work because it's so rare to find someone you truly feel like you can connect with, get along with. And also because I was cursed with the false belief that love could conquer anything. Well, actual love can conquer everything, but it's not just love in the romantic sense, it's love in the truthful sense. Doing the right thing, doing what is required of you, having integrity, saying the truth, living by the truth, being dependable. It's not just emotional lovey-dovey, because love is an action, it's a choice. It's not just a feeling. I asked her to be my girlfriend on February the 29th by sending her a dozen vegan cupcakes and a letter to take a leap and take a chance on us, despite the notorious pitfalls of long-distance relationship. Now that's sweet and all, but regardless, as a man, you should never have to ask that of the woman. Let her be the one to bring it up. Just what I was saying before. Women need to feel safe and comfortable. Women need time to make sure you're the right match for them. Which is why, generally speaking, men will typically fall in love or develop initial feelings of love sooner than women. A few weeks, a month and a half is when men fall. For women, it's going to be between a month and a half of 2 months of consistent, steady dating. As a minimum. There's no baggage, there's nothing in the background. That's what it's usually going to take. So as a guy, you just have to focus on getting to know her, courting her, enjoying each other's company, and being patient. And when she's ready, she'll be the one to bring it up because she needs those feelings of safety. She needs to first have that emotional attachment with you. And when she's ready, she'll bring it up. So this is a guy here who doesn't understand women. If not, he would have just gotten to know her on the phone, and when she's ready, she would have brought it up. But the only reason he's bringing it up is because he doesn't want to lose her. He feels like he has to do something instead of just letting it develop naturally over time. I see a lot of guys make that mistake. Again, read my book. It's there. So she agreed to be my girlfriend exclusively that day, during which time we agreed on one thing. If the situation ever became too difficult and or if our heads were ever turned by someone else, that we would do the honourable thing and just break up with each other instead of cheating. Because cheating is so toxic and hurtful. He said we both came from families where a parent had cheated. Well, you took that experience and said, I'm never going to be that way. She took that experience and said, if my needs aren't met, I guess I'll do it when I want to. There's the difference. After becoming official, we made plans to see each other. She was going to be off again for a week in April, so she planned on her visiting me around that time. Now, without any of the red flags you mentioned, I would have said that's a good sign, her actually coming to see you first, making the effort to fly there. That's good. It's a good investment on her end. But given the fact she's got so many problems, she was most likely lying or just saying that and actually following with the intention of following through just to love bomb you, to kind of keep you from seeing what she was really like. But it's a lovely thing on her end. Probably one of the few nicest things she did to you, right, Jimmy? Because I know you're watching. So then the pandemic hit in March and shut down the world. With uncertainty, we continued to carry on as usual, calls, text, video calls, and simply moved our travel plans to the summer, thinking COVID would settle down by then. Nope, COVID would end up delaying our meeting almost a year and a half. We tried our best to maintain some semblance of normal. We had date nights once or twice a week via Zoom, in addition to our regular texts and calls. Okay, fair enough. During which time we'd usually watch a movie together and order food. So like watching a movie at the same time. Okay, so getting creative, that's good given the circumstances. We celebrated birthdays and holidays together. It all seemed okay, especially since lockdown forced everyone to be long distance in a way. True. Even if she were in the same city as me, the lockdowns would have kept us apart during much of that time. Lockdowns were really hard for her to deal with because she's normally a very social person. Is she now? She couldn't take the isolation and lack of person-to-person contact as well as I did and became quite depressed. I already knew she had mental health problems relating to depression and anxiety stemming from years of abuse and assault growing up. Childhood trauma. Another red flag. Clearly this girl is not healed from it. Not an excuse, but it is definitely a factor that has influenced her, the formation of her ability to interact with others, such as you, the victim. So yeah, I knew she had mental health problems, years of abuse and assault growing up, as well as a troubled upbringing without her father. No father figure? She revealed all of this to me only 2 weeks into our meeting. In October of 2020, she decided to move in with a couple of girls in a flat that was close to her work, so she wouldn't be alone so much. Things started off well enough at this new place. The 2 girls she moved in with were very welcoming and friendly. They hung out with her a lot during lockdowns and supported her, even throwing her a small party on her birthday. Well, that is sweet. But the question is, what is the quality of these women? Remember, bad company corrupts good morals. Do they have integrity? Are they traditionally minded? Are they good girls? Or are they not so good girls? We're going to see now, aren't we? I could see a noticeable improvement in her mental health, and I was so happy, as it was difficult to watch her going through all of that and being unable to help her. That's just the way us men are. We see our woman happy, even if it has nothing to do with us. We're also happy. It's just the way it is. And also for women too. I mean, when she loves you, she's a good woman, and she sees that you've had a moment that's good in your career, whatever, and you're just happy, or you're celebrating something with your friends, or a personal milestone. She's going to celebrate with you. She's also going to be happy for you. And it's a lovely thing. Obviously, you cared about her. And that's the dangerous thing. When you care about someone that doesn't feel the same way back, man, The wound stays for a while. So yeah, I was happy, as it was difficult watching her go through all of that and being unable to help her. But things turned bad right around February of 2021, when her quirkiness started to get on the nerves of her flatmates. They slowly started to distance themselves from her, and she became extremely isolated again. She would stay in her room the moment she arrived home from work and never came out unless she had to. Eventually, she started to go and stay at her mum's house. She had a troubled relationship with her mother too. Oh, mummy issues too. That's lovely. She's got both of the big red flags, right? Got the daddy issues and the mummy issues. That's one healthy child. It's bad. So, that's bad though, because things had gotten to a point where she was willing to go and stay with her mother, who she had a bad relationship with. That tells you a lot about her situation. So that's how bad her situation was with her flatmates. She stayed at her mother's house even though it was further away from her work, and despite continuing to pay rent for this other flat, because she couldn't take living with the girls, she felt were judging her and being cruel. When she finally decided to move out of this place, it was an utter shit show. The girls were incredibly rude and mean to her, and she felt so invalidated and rejected as a person. So those girls were trashy, so they weren't good for her. She cried the entire day, and it was all I could do to console her since I wasn't there. Little did I know that this event would trigger her undiagnosed condition, which I've since identified as borderline personality disorder. So Jimmy here is a Sherlock Holmes. He's done some detective work. More specifically, quiet BPD, which is harder to diagnose even for medical professionals. You may wonder why I say she suffered from undiagnosed quiet BPD. So I will explain. Oh, he's going to explain. Let's see what he's got to say. I actually really like this guy's email because he goes so detailed into everything. It's just how I like it. It took a lot of research post-breakup to understand what exactly happened, since none of it made any sense from a logical or neurotypical person's perspective. However, when I read up on the symptoms, causes, and patterns of BPD, it all suddenly made sense. It was like our whole relationship was a BPD cliche. For example, people with BPD have an intense and pathological fear of abandonment and rejection, usually due to having been abandoned or abused during childhood. This is the driving force behind all of their other pathological behaviors: the lying, the self-harm, substance abuse, the cheating. They are so deathly afraid of being alone and abandoned that they will do anything to avoid these feelings of rejection. True, including engaging in impulsive and reckless behavior or offering sex in return for validation. After all, for people with BPD who were sexually abused as children, the early distorted sense of self-worth is related to their ability and willingness to provide sexual gratification. That's some serious stuff right there. Other things about her personality, behavior history that support a BPD diagnosis. Jimmy's he's gone deep. He's all in. Number one, people with BPD have difficulty sustaining healthy relationships. They usually start off intensely during the so-called idealization phase. This is also overlapping with people that are narcissistic, because narcissists will love bomb you, and it starts off hot and heavy. People that are very, I'm going to say lustful, so I say a word that's YouTube friendly, they are going to be the same way. It's going to start off hot and heavy. People that are young, that maybe it's their first relationship, they don't know any better, or they haven't been guided by their family on how to be calm and relaxed. It's going to start out hot and heavy. It doesn't always have to be someone that has a mental health issue. But in this case, she's got BPD. There's definitely a factor there. During this phase, you are the perfect man, the one she's been looking for all her life. You can do no wrong in her eyes. All of this is part of what is called love bombing. It is a tactic adopted by people with BPD to manipulate, gain control, or influence someone's actions by lavishing them with attention and affection. Again, you're saying this is BPD, this is narcissism. This is what people with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, do people with BPD do this as well? Of course. They both overlap and intertwine. Be careful with that. It's not just BPD. So they used to, gain control and influence someone's actions by lavishing them with attention and affection. The purpose is to get their target to lower their guards and then build attachment dependence. It's like a drug of instant self-esteem and validation that gets the target hooked and addicted. You addicted, Jimmy? I think you were addicted to her. After all, who doesn't like hearing how amazing and desirable they are? She probably did this with every other boyfriend before me because she certainly did it with me, as well as the guy after me. I have the receipts to prove it. Number 2, people with BPD have an unstable sense of self-image. People, often this will lead them to act like social chameleons in order to win approval and acceptance. This tactic is referred to as mirroring. Again, narcissists do this too. People with low self-esteem do this too. Even gold diggers. Even men that manipulate women, bad men, they will match and mirror to make you think, oh, we've got everything in common, and you lower your guard. I remember about a month into our relationship, we did the projective personality test known as the cube. And her cube, which is a metaphor for the ego, was appropriately enough a mirror. This suggests to me that she mostly reflected the things surrounding her, rather than having an independent identity or self. Now that I look back on it, I wonder if we really had so much in common or whether she was just mirroring me and saying she likes the same things I did. One reason for this suspicion is that post-breakup she had mentioned she'd never seen the movie The Wedding Singer before. I haven't seen it either. That struck me as odd because I vividly recall her telling me when we first met that she loved that movie. Caught her in a lie. So I scrolled back through our text and there it was. A blatant lie she told me right at the start of our relationship. For no other reason than to make me think we had something in common. Well, if she has to do that, it's because you have nothing in common at all. So that must make you question her integrity. If she has nothing in common with you, then she's not looking for a lifelong commitment. She's not looking for a man to love and spend her life with, is she? Then why else is she in a relationship? To suck you dry. For the attention, for the validation. Remember, women that are unstable want a man's attention and validation, whereas women who are stable will only seek the presence and love of the one man in their life. Same thing goes for the ladies watching that. What about men? It's the same thing. So this girl's lying to you. You got nothing in common. So why would she want to get to know you if there's nothing there? You can't build upon anything. There's no foundation, is there? It's not going to go anywhere. Anyways, getting back to where I left off in the story. Her experience with her flatmates left her feeling completely invalidated and rejected. Those feelings triggered her BPD and put her into survival mode, seeking comfort and acceptance wherever she could find it. I tried my best to be there for her, but since I was far away, I could only do so much. If she had communicated with me how much she needed me to be there or what she was going through, I would have been on the first plane over. But she didn't. Instead, when her needs were not being met to her satisfaction, she sought to have them met by someone else. Let the games begin. Let's see when she starts manipulating, shall we? It's common for BPD to go through a cycle, for people with BPD to go through a cycle of idealization, devaluation, and discarding of their significant others. Anyways, what you just said here, this is the cycle of a relationship with a narcissist. And I'll also throw in hoovering. If you don't escape, they will come back and try again, which is they hoover around you, try and suck you back in, and repeat the whole thing. Do people with severe mental disorders like BPD do this? Yes. But if they've got BPD, there's also a level of narcissism as well. Watch out for that. He said, I believe me not being present during the crisis triggered a devaluation of our relationship in her eyes. This would have happened anyway. Because to her, you're just a limerent object. You are, well, as you just said before, mirror. You're just a void. Okay? So she sucks out everything she can, and when there's nothing left, she's going to move on. You're just a plaything, a toy. So I believe me not being present during her crisis triggered a devaluation of our relationship. In her mind, I basically abandoned her in the time of need. She could not count on me, which deprived me entirely of value. From that point on, she started to secretly explore her options instead of just breaking up with me. Remember, people with BPD cannot take rejection or abandonment, so rather than breaking up with me like a person with integrity, she merely sought out my replacement to spare herself the bad feelings of loss. Until that point, I'd been nothing but a loyal and supportive boyfriend. I treated her like a queen, showering her with love and affection, expensive gifts, and romantic gestures. Because of this, she didn't want to lose me, but she didn't want to be loyal to me either. Well, you can't have your cake and eat it too. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too. So she monkey branched on me over the next 3 to 4 months. I should have seen the warning signs from the start and pulled the eject button. Her father had abandoned the family when she was young, and her mother had cheated on every boyfriend she ever had. You can see what this is building up to now. And what an example of a nuclear family, right? She had mostly guy friends. What do I always say about that one, fellas? And seemed to crave male attention and validation in unhealthy ways. She also confessed to having cheated on past boyfriends, but she said that he was abusive. How many cases have I done where narcissists, liars, cheaters always say that about their ex? So you pity them all over their guard and don't question it anymore? Oh, it's a touchy subject. She said her ex was abusive, I won't ask anymore. Which at the time seemed to justify it for me. Well, there you go. Anyways, during the time she monkey branched on me, there were dozens of red flags that I should have recognized. But in the effort to be a kind and understanding boyfriend, in the effort to be a kind and understanding boyfriend and not be that guy who gets jealous for no reason, I ignored my instincts, which were screaming out to me something was wrong. So you're sacrificing your principles out of fear of rejection, out of fear that she could get upset with you. If that's the case, you need to start reevaluating how much those principles mean to you. Because if you do not put them into effect, you don't act upon them, you don't have any. You have an idea of what you would like to have as a value, which is something important. But guess what? Because you don't live and die by that, you haven't implemented it. So you don't have any. It's important to you, but what was more important was your fear of losing her. You should be more scared of losing yourself in a relationship. If something isn't right, you ask questions. You dig deep. You don't bottle that up, because repressed emotion, it is going to come out in the future in negative ways, in unhealthy ways, in dangerous ways. I ignored my instincts. So, for example, suddenly she barely had time for me. She was always tired and had to sleep early when she got home from work. She only worked for 3 days a week, and yet on her 4 days off, we would only usually spend 5 hours or so with each other, compared to how it used to be. She started taking much longer to answer texts from me, and during our voice calls, I would constantly hear her phone buzzing with notifications, probably texts from her new guy. I suspected that she was emotionally cheating on me at the very least, if not physically cheating, but had no evidence to support it, just my gut feeling. You gotta trust that. At first, I thought the person she was cheating with was this guy she worked with, who she had started to hang out with at least once a week since July. He was a single guy, almost 10 years younger than her, but she always had a thing for younger guys. I was the only guy she'd ever dated that was older than her. That's not normal. Most women will go for a guy that's same age or a few years older. Younger, they happen, there are exceptions, but if there's a pattern where she's always done that and you're the exception to her, dig deep. Daddy issues, mummy issues, come on, can figure out the rest. During this time, I was utterly miserable. I felt depressed and anxious, but I was not yet ready to make accusations. One time she went out with work guy on Friday and came home at 1 a.m. Why is she going out? If a woman loves you and cares about you, she's not going to be spending intimate time with another man. Come on, man. She's going out till 1 a.m. on a Friday night off with work guy. If you can't figure that out, what else can I say? I'll just continue reading. So she came home on a Friday at 1 a.m. and I asked her if we could talk for a bit on the phone, and she said she was too tired. Yeah, wonder what she was tired of doing. This was the same girl who used to stay up all night talking to me, even though she was tired during my own idealization phase. The next day I asked her straight up if she just wanted to break up because it felt like she had checked out of the relationship. She said no, that she still loved me as much as she ever did, and that she still wanted all the things with me she did at the beginning, marriage and kids. Actions speak louder than words. You look at what people do, not what they say. Right now, the bar is set so low with people that just keeping your word, following through with what you say you're going to do, and showing up shows that you're someone that has integrity. Your emotions are going to say, I'm going to trust in her words. But her actions are what you should be looking at. So she's telling you, no, I don't want to break up. I love you. You're the same. Everything's the same as it was. But then she's going out till 1 a.m. with a guy from work. Can you not figure it out? Come on, man. This is what in BPD discourse is called future faking. While it's mostly common associated with narcissistic personality disorder, people with BPD have also been known to use this tactic. True. Basically, because people with BPD will do anything to achieve acceptance and avoid abandonment, along with love bombing and mirroring, they will sometimes use future faking in order to snag their target. Future faking involves making promises about the future that they never intend to go through with, since people with BPD usually expect abandonment at some point. So anyways, I gave her an out in the relationship and she didn't take it. I would be the first of 3 times prior to our breakup that I would offer to end things amicably so she could pursue someone else. Well, you don't need to offer to end. You just walk away for good. That's where you were making a mistake, because you're saying things aren't right. If she wanted to leave healthily, she would look you in the eyes and tell you, Jimmy, she'd call you, she'd video call you, Jimmy, I'm not happy anymore. I want to be with someone else, or I just need to be alone. I can't do this anymore. Whatever. She'd give you some excuse, but at least she'd tell you. And then she'd walk away and heal. And when she's ready, she'd try again. That's what people with integrity do. But she didn't do that. You asked her? No. You asked her? No. You can tell something is off because she's not behaving the same way. Her pattern's changed in her behavior. She's lining someone else up. This is what people that don't have integrity do. So yeah, all 3 times she rejected this offer with statements of love and commitment. All the while she was continuing to cheat on me, manipulating. Things started to really go downhill in October, but I didn't realize it because she had stopped hanging out with work guy, and I was happy about this as he seemed to be the only possible threat. Okay, look, for anybody watching, if your partner is hanging out with members of the opposite sex, they are not a threat. The threat is your partner, because somebody who is faithful does not allow members of the opposite sex to engage in them in a close quarter interaction, one-on-one, spending quality time. They'd only do that with you, period. If your woman is spending time with other men, you may feel threatened by them, but who allowed them to get close to her? She did. If you're a lady watching and your boyfriend, he keeps just stepping out on you, he keeps going off with different women, those ladies are not the problem. It's him. Because if they don't want to cheat with him, if they don't want to be involved with him, he'll find different women who will, that he'd lie to as well or whatever. He's the problem. Please understand that for the ladies and men watching. So, yeah, one Saturday, she told me she had plans to go to a friend's house to watch a Lord of the Ring movie marathon with a bunch of people. She had met this guy through a mutual friend months before. Movie guy, so now we have another guy. Movie guy. Movie guy lived in a part of England that was about a 2-hour train ride from where she lived. I don't think much of it at first because she had only mentioned this guy once months back, and my suspicions were fully trained on work guy at the time. Fully trained, man. So stupidly, I did not make any protests about her going to this guy's house for a Saturday. Like a good boyfriend, I was happy to know that she was getting out and socializing again, knowing how difficult the isolation of lockdowns had been for her mental health. Let that be a lesson to all the good guys out there. Well, how good are you as a man if you don't stand up for your principles? I would say, let that be a lesson to the weak men out there. And guys, there's no shame in being weak, but there is in staying weak. So you change that right now. So here she is, stops hanging out with a guy from work because now she has a different target. Movie guy. She's getting on a train to go 2.5 hours away to spend time with this guy. Because I'm sure they're just going to watch movies. They weren't doing any other type of marathon, were they? Figure it out. So don't change who you are, but don't expect to be rewarded for being a trusting boyfriend either. It's okay to be trusting, but don't be a sucker. Trust has to be earned through transparency, not blind faith. Agreed. So I kept myself busy that Saturday doing some work, fully expecting to hear back from her on a train ride later that day. At around 11 o'clock UK time, she texted me to say that she decided to sleep over at Movie Guy's house because it was getting too dark and it was too dangerous to take the train home. Oh man, she's really she's good at this. She assured me that there was a bunch of other people there sleeping over and that night she would be sleeping alone on the couch. In reality, there was no other people there. There was only Movie Guy and her together the entire day. As I said in the title, monkey branching and master manipulators for a reason. She's betraying him. And look how nonchalant she's about it. She's basically like, oh yeah, she's making up the whole story. Yeah, we're watching a movie marathon, it's late, it's dark, there's all these people. This is premeditated. She is lying to him, using him, manipulating him. That's horrible. Come on, Jimmy. Let's see what else happens, eh? She assured you, right? And she should be an actress, be a professional liar. Would suit her. He said, if you're wondering why I didn't suspect things then and there, because I did have some inclinations. In fact, I cried myself to sleep that night thinking about the possibilities. Maybe my instincts knew before I did what was happening. However, the next day she messaged me with a long, loving letter that alleviated my mind about her feelings for me and placated my paranoia temporarily. So she knows you're catching on to her and she throws you a bone. You know the saying, if you love something, let it go. If they come back, they're yours, but if they don't, they never were. It sounded deep and profound, but I realize now it's utter bullshit. Especially when the person in question has a personality disorder that causes them to abandon socially accepted ways of behavior and morals. The truth is, no one is ever really yours inherently. As they say in legal philosophy, possession is 9/10 of the law. If you want to keep something yours, you don't give up possession of it. You have to protect it from being taken by anyone else. I was stupid enough not to realize that, as you will see. During October, while she was on break from work for the week, my girlfriend and I spent every day together. It was amazing because it felt like I finally had her back. It had been at least a week since she had gone out with any of the guys. Oh man, whether it was movie guy or work guy. In fact, work guy was away on a trip out of the country, so I had my girlfriend all to myself with no interruptions for the first time in a while. That is some cuck activity right there. That's bad. How does this weaken your character, man? Then I did something really stupid. Trying to do the noble thing and knowing that my girlfriend had spent the entire week of her break indoors with me, I encouraged her to reach out to her friends to do something fun for Halloween. Doesn't she have female friends? Come on, man. I told her that I didn't want her to go back to work after her break and tell everybody that she had spent the entire week of a holiday indoors on the phone or on a video call with me. Why would she be embarrassed? If she loves you, she'll have no problem telling everybody at work. Oh, I was on a call with my boyfriend from America, my Jimmy. It was great. I can't wait to see him. If she's not proud of you or doesn't care, then of course you're going to assume she's embarrassed. Obviously, given the fact that she's spending time with so many different men, of course this woman, she kind of gave you the image that you were in a relationship, but you were just another source of attention for her. So she reaches out to movie guy and she told me that he was planning another get together. Oh, isn't that cute? I'm sure all of your friends came as well, right? The imaginary ones. With a bunch of people at his house to watch horror movies. He said again, there were no people. Just like there were no other people on the first night she went there. She slept over that night. But then the next day she didn't return home until 6 or 7 p.m. despite having worked the next day. She told me she would come home early that day so we could hang out and watch a movie together. But when she got home, it was like she didn't even want to talk to me. It was at this time that I offered to end our relationship on good terms if she wasn't happy. Again, she refused and said that she was happy. Oh, sure she is. She's happy to spend time with movie guy, that's for sure. But from that day on, Saturday visits to movie guy's house became the norm. She told me movie guy had a girlfriend to throw me off the scent and to make me lower my guard. See how manipulative she's getting. Oh, man. So she even lies and says the guy has, oh, don't worry, the guy I'm sleeping with, he's got a girlfriend too. And you're eating all of these lies up, man. But when I scanned his social media, there was no indication of a girlfriend whatsoever. She also assured me that everyone at the gathering was in a couple and that she slept alone on the couch. Man, she's good at this. What was weird about her Saturday sleepovers was that she only answered texts from me sporadically and never answered calls. She said it was because she didn't want to be one of those people who is always on her phone while she was out. At the end of the day, if those are her friends and they know of you, she's going to pull out the video call. Hey guys, this is Jimmy, just say hi on FaceTime with the phone out, or you'd hear them in the background talking. She never did she? She said it was because she didn't want to be one of those people, but that didn't make any sense because when we first met, she was constantly texting me even while she was out with friends. I guess that was when I was still being idealized by her and had value. Now, she would message me once or twice throughout Saturday and Sunday to appease me without actually reading any of my replies. Her responses were all very perfunctory, like they were copy-pasted from a list of greetings. What seemed weirdest of all was that her excuse for not taking calls or chatting through text with me was that she didn't want to be on the phone while she was with her friends. But when she went to sleep every Saturday night, she still wasn't able to text or chat either, despite the fact that she was alone, supposedly. During that time that she was seeing this guy behind my back, all the intimacy between us disappeared. Oh, she was a very sexual person and she sent me explicit, provocative pictures. Okay, too much information. There's a lot of stuff he said here that I can't say. So yeah, I felt devalued as a man, that suddenly my own girlfriend didn't want to be explicit with me. I knew there had to be a reason, but I ignored my instincts again. When her birthday came in November, I dropped down almost $2,000 on her gifts for a nice dinner spread for both of us to enjoy over Zoom. So she's spending time with other men, and you reward her by spending $2,000 on her birthday. Come on, man. She told me her friends were planning to take her out the next day in London as well for her birthday, and that they would all be staying at an Airbnb because it was easier than traveling home. Again, there were no friends. There was just her and movie guy. Master manipulator. I know what you're thinking. This guy, referring to him, is an absolute simp and a cuck, and I agree I was. Well, at least you can admit your mistakes in staying. It's like my life was living up that Drake song, Race My Mind. She wasn't Aisha enough, and yet I treated her too softly. I should have been more of a typical guy, more masculine and territorial. In my defense, I was raised mostly by women. My mother, grandmother, and my 2 older sisters. Well, I know he mentioned he got a copy of my book because I did talk to him further, so he's going to learn more now. He'll be fine. Also, he's brave enough to share his story with everyone, so all of you watching can learn from his experience. So, my father cheated on my mother, and I was determined to be a good man and not be like him. That's a very noble thing. Of course, it's not your fault. Whatever your father did, that's his behavior. But you can take that experience and learn from it so that you can never become like him. That's good. The last straw for me came over Christmas break. She had said weeks before that we would spend New Year's Eve together, but now she was suddenly tentative about it. She said her friends were getting together at Movie Guy's house for karaoke and a New Year's Eve's party. You believe it? That's when I had enough. Why would my girlfriend who says she loves me prefer to spend New Year's Eve with a bunch of people she'd only known for a few weeks over me? It didn't make sense unless there was something else going on. Now you're starting to think logically. The emotions are fading and you can see things for what they are. So I asked her casually if she had a picture of these people she was hanging out with. She used to tell me elaborate stories about them. There were supposedly 3 of them there every weekend. 2 girls and a guy, not included movie guy. Man, she really went into very detailed descriptions of these imaginary people there. I mean, this is the thing about lying. When you get too deep, she can't even tell what's real or not anymore. Horrible. She told me their names, jobs, and all the things they said while they were hanging out together. All lies. Oh man. Master manipulator indeed. Somebody get this woman a master's degree in manipulation. Please. She's a professional at this. Unsuspecting of my motives, she sent me a picture from Instagram with her supposed friends in it. There was movie guy and 3 people that she claimed to be hanging out with. However, I had already seen this picture on movie guy's Instagram before from internet, because I checked it out. And I knew that the names she gave me did not match up with the people tagged by movie guy. I asked her about this discrepancy. She acted shocked. She said that they must have lied to her. But why would they lie to her about who they were when she hardly knew them? It made no sense to me. So I kept pressing. I said, look, I know you don't want to be alone for New Year's Eve, so that rather than making you choose between me and your friends, I will fly out there for a week so we can spend the holiday together. Now, quite frankly, you should have just dumped her there and then and not wasted any more money on her. But you had a mission, right? You wanted to play it out. We can then go down to this New Year's Eve's party together if you like. And I could see micro expressions of panic cross her face when I mentioned this. Whew. Liar, liar, pants on fire, right? She pivoted and said that if I came to visit her, she would want to spend all of her time with me and no one else. I pressed on, insisting that I wanted to see these people, to thank them for being such good friends to her. That's when she finally cracked and admitted that they didn't exist. That for 6 weeks, when she was supposedly hanging out with watching movies with these friends, it was really just her and the movie guy. Oh man. When she finally confessed to the cheating after being caught in that lie, I asked her why she didn't just keep our promise that if either of us found someone else, we would just break up instead of cheating. She told me it was because she loved me. Yet she loves you so much that she leads you on, lies to you, makes elaborate, detailed, fake imaginary characters while she's taking some other man's penis inside of her. But she loves you so much. But when you love someone, you don't treat them the way she treated me. Amen. Now you're talking. I might have understood if it was a one-time mistake in the heat of the moment during a vulnerable time and she regretted it. But she carried on and hid the continued cheating with lies for 3 months. That is a conscious and deliberate effort to betray. That is pure selfishness, which is not a part of what normal people understand to be love. Amen. It was at this point that she would present me with a series of lies to try to placate me. I asked her if she was sleeping with him and she said no, that they just kissed one time. Lies. I asked her why it was that when she went to bed at night alone, supposedly during Saturday night visits, she could not answer text or calls from me, since there should have been no one else for her to be disturbed by. She admitted that it was because she was in bed with movie guy, but she said it was only for comfort of wanting someone there because she felt so lonely and they never did anything. That was BS, obviously, yeah. If you turned around and said, but I trusted her, then you can metaphorically reach out and slap yourself, because I can't do it for you. Being the idiot I was, I believed her. Even though her story was highly improbable, what kind of guy lets a girl to come to his house and stay in his bed every weekend out of the goodness of their heart and doesn't try to make a move on it? Me, I suppose. But we've already established I'm the gullible beta male cuck. Now, I know you're using humor to break down your mistake, but generally speaking, you should never speak of yourself badly. But I understand you're doing it in a jokey way. Regardless of how unbelievable her story was, this is probably the longest video I've done thus far. I really wanted to believe her. I love this girl and I didn't think she could betray me so callously after everything we'd meant to each other. More like everything you'd meant to her, because to her, you meant absolutely nothing. Zilch, zero, nada. There's an old saying which I think described my state of denial at this point. For those who believe, no proof is necessary, and for those who don't believe, no proof is possible. And that quote is attributed to Stuart Chase. He was an economist and a writer. How do I know it? Well, because I did ask him. We had an interaction and Jimmy told me. Because I said to him, I really like that quote. Where's it from? He told me. Stuart Chase. I believed what I wanted to believe despite all the evidence to the contrary and despite the people in my life telling me she was a slag. Those friends cared about you and they were trying to protect you. You should have listened. Don't make the same mistakes I did. After confessing, I asked her if she still wanted to be with me and she said yes. Oh man, I told her I was willing to forgive her, assuming that she was telling the truth, that she only kissed him. I would say give it a minute of silence, but this video has gone on for so long. You can pause it and give a minute of silence when you want and pray for him, because I'm on a schedule here now. This video is getting very long. No words needed. So, yeah, if she wanted to give our relationship a real chance, and she said yes, so we made plans for me to fly out there and stay for 3 weeks over Christmas holiday. So you have literal confirmation for the past 3 months she's been getting ran through by this movie guy. She's been lying to you in the most manipulative way I have probably ever seen. And then you basically are rewarding her evil behavior by you flying over like a good butler and spending time with her. Really? Come on, man. So we made plans and I flew over for a few weeks in Christmas. However, on the night I was supposed to fly, she hit me with the news that she had COVID and had to quarantine. She told me that I should come after quarantine to save money and accommodations. I didn't buy that excuse and said I was coming anyway, which made her unhappy. So she promised me that while I was there to try and save our relationship, and that she would stop communicating with movie guy until she made a decision about who she wanted to be with. Really? So she's betrayed you, and then she's sitting on a high horse, still deciding which guy she wants to be with, right? Really? As if she has the right to even decide. But again, you enabled her behavior because you gave her a chance. She has all the power, you have none. The only way to get your power back now is to walk away. But every time I was in the bathroom or out of view, she was messaging him. Meanwhile, she also hadn't told him that I was there, and he started to become suspicious because she was taking a long time to text her back. The irony. He said this shithead being suspicious that the girl he was cheating with might be off doing something else with someone else, as if he had any right to expect loyalty. However, a week after being together, she told me that she had to tell him the truth, that I was there, because he was starting to ask questions. Funny, she didn't feel like she had to tell me the truth during those 3 months of lying to me and cheating, while I spent nights crying myself to sleep. I now understand that this behavior was largely a byproduct of her illness. It was because of her untreated disorder that she felt inexplicable and compulsive loyalty to him over me, like an addict who chooses taking a hit over their own family and loved ones. But she never loved you to begin with. She was never with you for genuine motive. She's not even with him for the right reasons. She's only using him. He's just another vessel. When she's bored of him, she's going to throw him in the rubbish bin and find another toy to play with. Another guy to be a puppet, a marionette that she's going to just, toy around with. When another shiny object comes along, that's where her attention will go. She's cursed to be that way until she, gets medical help, picks up a Bible. So, yeah, he says people with BPD develop what I call a favorite person, a person from whom they derive all their happiness and whom they would do anything for. A person they become completely and intensely infatuated and obsessed with. I was that person for the first 4 months of dating. I was the idealized man that could do no wrong. But like with all borderlines, it's never permanent. What borderlines experience as love early on during the idealization phase is really just infatuation. What psychologists call limerence, he's just describing limerence, blah, 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 If I'd known all of this at the time, I wouldn't have wasted thousands of dollars trying to save our relationship. Traveling last minute to see her, staying at expensive hotels with her, going out to dinners and activities, because I would have just known that there was nothing I could do to change things. Well, the good news is you're learning now. that the relationship was already dead because I was no longer reasoning with a logical human being. I was up against an addiction illness that had her completely in its thrall. She thought she loved this guy. I guess it's not too surprising since she told me she was in love with me after only 2 weeks as well. There you go. But once a person with untreatable BPD develops an infatuation, it's impossible to get them back. The disorder made her believe that she loved him, and that belief, however nonsensical, was impossible to break without intense therapy. I now realize that she never loved me during those early stages, and that it was just infatuation based on limerence, like what she was feeling for the movie guy. But I do truly believe that after our early period of limerence had passed, that we did settle into something resembling real love based on mutual respect, companionship, shared interest, and true connection. I'm shaking my head because that's what you're feeling. That's not what she was feeling. She can't feel those things. Only you can. Because you're the one here who's stable. You're the one here who's normal and healthy. She's not. Unfortunately, with her distorted concept of love, she couldn't distinguish between love and limerence, and because her new infatuation with movie guy was so intense, she thought that meant she loved him more than she loved me. But it's not love, it's obsession. So real love requires an idealized vision of who the other person is. You have to be able to see their flaws and still love them. This cannot happen when you're in an idealized phase. He says, so after 2 weeks together, which seemed to be very happy, man, really, one morning I caught her crying in bed. Later that day, we went out to the city to watch a show. On our Uber ride home, I noticed her texting someone. I confronted her about it because she had told me for months that she didn't want to be one of those people who texted or was on their phone all the time while she was out with someone. I said it was really hurtful that all these months she was cheating on me with this guy, and she didn't think about my feelings at all, and she didn't text me or reply to me. But she was doing it now for this shithead while she was out with me. Again, you cucked yourself. There was no reason for you to go to England to go and see her. But you went anyways, thinking it was going to change the situation. She's going to be the same person. You can't influence her behavior because she's mentally unwell. That's when she admitted that she was texting him again, and it took several days for her to confess to him that I was there, and then she also broke things off. That was why she was crying. She said that she missed him and she broke down in tears. I asked her if she wanted to be with him instead of me, and she said yes, and I'm so sorry. I hugged her, wished her happiness, and said I would book the next flight out the country. Man, you have a big heart. I would have just said, good riddance. I mean, in a respectful way, look at me. I wish you all the best, but good riddance. Because she does deserve a good riddance after what she did to you. And of course, you take your time, you forgive her, then you move on. But you do have a big heart, and a good woman will appreciate that. So at least you can walk away knowing that you gave it your all, that you were faithful. You can be proud of that. So we spent the final week together, and it was magical despite the circumstances. We got along so well and had so much fun. I couldn't understand how she could give up all we had built for a guy she barely knew and who looked like Count Chocula. He says, with brown skin, big nose, slick hair, and widow's peak. We had a couple of discussions about what she saw in him, and she described everything from a limerent point of view. She just said that she was drawn to him. I asked if she said she loved him, and she said, not yet. Well, no. Of course she's going to tell you that. Of course, this was another lie. At the time, however, I was relieved by her answer, because if she had told this guy I love you so soon, it would have invalidated the entire beginning of our relationship. Her behavior has already invalidated your entire relationship anyway, so her saying that really wouldn't have changed anything. But I know at the time, at the situation, right there and then, the moment you were in, sure, because you didn't know anything back then. But now you'd go, okay, it doesn't matter, because the damage is done. So if she could fall in love with this guy as quickly as she did with me, then there was nothing at all special about us, because she probably would have fallen for any other guy 2 years ago if they'd met her before me on a dating app. I asked if she'd ever sent him nudes or anything like that. She said no. Again, it's another lie. It doesn't matter. A few weeks after I returned home, a friend of mine who works in a pen testing felt sorry enough for me that he sent me a Metasploit payload to a phone to collect info that I believed would help me get over her for good. He emailed me screenshots of her text messages with this guy. Really? So your friend went full detective as well? It's not a good way to go. I mean, you have more than enough evidence to show you that she betrayed you. Why do you need to dig yourself a deeper hole and cause yourself unnecessary pain? Seeing those text messages completely destroyed me. Not only was she telling this guy I love you in every text, but it was the same over the top manner that she had done with me at the beginning of our relationship. She said to him that he was her world and that she loved him more than anything. That's who she'd been waiting for all her life. I realized that I was just another fungible guy in her fantasy world of soulmates. Not only that, but in a text message which was sent 2 days before I confronted her about the cheating, she goes into explicit detail about how incredible the sex was with him that morning and how he was the most handsome man she'd ever been with. It was utterly disgusting. I felt depressed for weeks after reading this, and I promised her that we would stay friends despite the breakup, but that was before I learned the extent of the deception and betrayal. She now messages me almost every day, telling me how guilty she feels and how much shame she feels about what she did to me. All this while not knowing that I knew everything, or rather as much as my friend felt I could handle. I now know that this isn't entirely her fault. Coming to the end now. Her upbringing and her personality disorder made what happened between us inevitable. She probably isn't even aware that she's following these maladaptive patterns or has this disorder. Do you believe she's a good person deep down? Otherwise she would not have experienced guilt, and that she cries every time she hears my voice or sees my video. It's more from like an attachment because you spent time together, but she still doesn't love you, man. She doesn't love this guy either. It's the same thing she did it with you, and she will continue to do to the next victim. But it's buried beneath so much wreckage from her past that it's not even operative in most cases, and thus is irrelevant to any moral expectations anyone might have of her. So that's my story. Take what lessons from it that you will, about long distance, about being too trusting, about not trusting your instincts, about red flags. Don't let your romantic notions about love cloud your better judgment. I'm not saying to be a cynic or to abandon who you are, but if you're good, you have to be cautious because there are plenty of people out there who will be happy to take advantage of your giving nature. So that's his story. I did speak to him. He's since been healing then. He's been reading books. He's been educating himself, therapy and all the rest. He's completely cut that woman off. And in a way, he's lucky. He didn't get married with her. He didn't have kids. He can start fresh. And he can use that experience as a learning curve to grow. And I hope his situation can help you avoid committing to a woman like this. If you see the early warning signs, you walk away, or you can end up just like him. And I know this video has been very long, so I'm going to leave it at that. So for anybody who would like to book a coaching call with me, share their story with me like he did, ask me any questions privately, any video suggestions, my email will be down in the description. If you would like to support my work further and you're new to the channel, then hit the subscribe button. But if you are a recurring subscriber and you do want to support my work further, then of course buy a copy of my book if you haven't. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, here's the hardcover version, there's paperback and digital on Amazon. And of course, get back to me with your thoughts, leave a review on Amazon as well. And feel free to share this video and any other of my videos with your friends and family and anybody else who may benefit from my work. With that said, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section. And I'll see you guys in the next one. God bless all of you and your families.